The morning sun rose over Maplewood Drive, washing the quiet street in soft gold. To the neighbors, it was just another day. The mailman made his rounds. A dog barked to houses down. And at 1423 Maplewood, behind perfectly trimmed hedges and a freshly painted porch, a woman was trying not to die. 3 days had passed since Sarah escaped that night. 3 days of sleepless hiding, first in a friend's spare room, then in a budget motel on the edge of town. She'd cut her hair, bought a cheap prepaid phone, and used cash for everything. But even as she tried to vanish, she couldn't stop feeling like he was still out there, watching, waiting. Her new phone buzzed that morning. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Sarah Reeves." The voice was calm, official. "This is Detective Marsh, Internal Affairs. We received a complaint you made about Officer Daniel Reeves." Her heart nearly stopped. You got it?" "Yes, ma'am. I'd like to discuss it in person." Finally, she thought. Finally, someone was listening. She met the detective at a diner on the outskirts of town, the same one where she'd hidden after the storm. He was in his 50s, with tired eyes and a quiet voice. He slid a file across the table. "Mrs. Reeves, I'll be honest. Your husband has a reputation, good one. Commendations, service medals, perfect record." Sarah clenched her fists. "He's not who you think he is." Marsh nodded slowly. "That's what I'm here to find out. But you need to be careful. If he suspects we're investigating, he'll make this harder." Harder. The word echoed in her head. Harder than this? She looked out the window, rain beginning to fall again, and said quietly, "I just want to live." But by the time she returned to her motel, the door was already open. Her suitcase was gone. Her clothes gone. The window lock had been snapped. And on the bed, in the middle of the cheap floral blanket, sat one object. Daniel's badge. Her scream was silent, trapped in her throat. She backed out of the room, shaking uncontrollably. She didn't need to check the bathroom or the closet. She knew what this meant. He had found her. Sarah ran to the front desk, gasping to the clerk, "Call the police, please, he's here." The young man looked confused. "Who's here?" "My husband, Officer Reeves." But before she could finish, a familiar voice echoed from behind her. "Sarah." She turned. Daniel stood in the doorway, drenched from rain, his uniform unbuttoned at the collar, his eyes hollow and wild. He smiled faintly, like a man greeting his wife after a long trip. "There you are." The clerk froze. Sarah whispered, "Stay back." He took a step forward. "You've made me look bad, Sarah. You called Internal Affairs. You think anyone's going to believe you over me?" Her heart pounded. "They already do," she lied. He chuckled. "No, they don't. They never do." Then, almost gently, "Come home." When she didn't move, his voice turned sharp. "Now." Sarah bolted. She ran past him, pushing through the rain, across the parking lot. Daniel shouted her name, chasing after her. She reached her car, her hand shaking as she fumbled with the keys. The headlights flared to life just as he reached the door. She slammed it shut and locked it, engine roaring. He pounded on the window, rain running down his face. "Sarah, you're my wife." She stared at him through the glass. For the first time, she didn't see her husband. She saw a monster. Then she hit the gas. The tires screeched, splashing through puddles as she tore out of the parking lot into the dark road. Minutes later, she called Detective Marsh. "Please," she gasped. "He found me. He's chasing me." The detective's voice was calm but urgent. "Stay on the line." "Where are you?" "Highway 12 near the old bridge." "Keep driving. We're sending units now." She checked her rearview mirror. Headlights appeared behind her, getting closer. The storm had turned violent. Wind howled through the trees, and lightning split the sky. Sarah's hands trembled on the steering wheel as the road curved along the river. The second car accelerated, headlights glaring, horn blaring. Daniel's cruiser. He pulled up beside her, rain hammering both windshields. His face was lit by flashes of lightning, twisted in anger. "Stop the car," he shouted through the glass, mouthing the words she'd heard too many times. She shook her head, gripping the wheel. "Not this time." He rammed her. Once, twice. The tires screeched as her car swerved dangerously close to the guardrail. She screamed, clutching the wheel. Then silence. A gunshot shattered the night. The bullet tore through her rear window, lodging in the seat inches from her shoulder. She ducked instinctively, heart racing. Another shot. The car jolted. Her hands tightened. She slammed the brakes, spinning the car sideways. Daniel's cruiser overshot, skidding into the opposite lane. Without thinking, she floored the gas again, sending her car slamming into his. Metal crunched, glass exploded, and both vehicles spun out, Daniel's car crashing into the guardrail with a deafening crunch. Then, silence except for the rain. Smoke rose from both hoods. The air was thick with oil and fear. Sarah crawled out through the shattered window, limping toward the wreck. Her whole body shook, but she didn't stop. Daniel was trapped inside, unconscious. The badge on his chest was bent, blood trickling down his forehead. For a long moment, she stood there, watching him breathe. She could walk away. She could end it. She could let the river take him. Her reflection stared back at her in the broken glass. And then, softly, she whispered, "No more." She reached into his car, grabbed the radio mic, and pressed the button. "This is Sarah Reeves," she said, voice trembling but clear. "Officer involved domestic incident. Officer down. Send help." When the sirens finally came, Sarah didn't move. She stood in the rain as red and blue lights painted her face. An officer wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and tried to guide her to an ambulance, but she shook her head. She looked back at the wreck, at the man who once swore to protect her, and whispered. The call finally came. That night, Detective Marsh found her sitting quietly in the hospital room. "You did the right thing," he said softly. Sarah didn't answer. She just looked out the window, watching dawn break over the city. "I didn't want revenge," she said finally. "I just wanted to be heard." Marsh nodded. "Now, you will be." Outside, the first light of morning touched the river. For the first time in years, Sarah felt the weight lift from her chest. She wasn't just a victim anymore. She was the survivor of her own story.